Hello, I'm Rob Deb, and welcome to Takes on Taylor, new series which I'll be doing. Where I'll be going not so much the there's no discs anymore, is there? Albums, the album releases of Taylor Swift, Taylor Swift, in a chronological order. Basically, I'll give an idea of when it was released, the general oeuvre of the songs, and what I felt were probably key tracks and how they resonated for me as a 48-year-old man in 2024. So, with that, no slide, whatever. I'm going to start with. I took notes. Shut up. Those of you who've seen my other shows know this doesn't really happen. Um, so we're going to talk about Taylor Swift's album, Taylor Swift. Predominantly, it's a country album. It's a country album, and it is devotedly country. Although there are some other elements that I'll get into soon. A couple of things I would say about it. As a whole, this was released in 2006, and it shows. It has that sensibilities of that time. I myself was 30 at the time, and was very much like Taylor Swift in that I was doing my first ever solo Edinburgh show. Unlike Taylor Swift, I was a 30-year-old man. But, I went through those doubts and those anxieties and doing some of the great unknown. And unlike Taylor Swift, as well as my demographics, wasn't really that successful. I got reviewed as 1 star reviews, and is a terrible man who, I mean, because it's 2006, who goes to see things about comic books? The MCU didn't exist at that time. It's just me, Beck Hill, and Lois Lane. So, um, having said that, though, I would say that this is a very emotionally expressive album. It's sincere. If it's overly earnest, then I think that's a credit, given the fact that so much of the music of that I had thrown at me was men, pensive men, being pensive, going, oh, I can't learn this up. Right. I even had that conversation recently with a 48-year-old man who is not able to emotionally express himself, so thumped a table in a bar. Dan, Dan, just feel the Kennedy. No, not Dan. Feel the Kennedy. Maybe listen to some of this because I got to say, for me, it is going to be the media context of them. This dripped with now my knowledge of country is very stats at that. Yes, that's the word. That is totally the appropriate word. Mine was from Clare, so we had a lot of country music. For those of you who don't know Clare, it's in Ireland. Um, and it's the sort of place Clare FM would play a lot of Taylor Swift music at this sort of juncture. For those of you who don't know Clare FM, it's 2 minutes of births, 20 minutes of obituaries, populated with MOR and countryside music, with maybe a bit more to give for the youngsters. And this, on a facile level, feels that, but I would say there's more. Yes, Tim McGraw does sound a bit season 3 of Smallville. I can totally listen to that and imagine one of those classic scenes where Lana Lang has been stood up by Clark for the prom and is mooning out the window, while Clark is standing on top of her own house, just above the window, looking moody and pensive. Did he fly up there? We don't know, but I do know this. That's not protective. That's absolutely fucking stalky. But that sort of romantic notion of estrangement is definitely in there. Bet plot twist, as my niece would say. She's very good at plot twist. Um, Picture to Burn. Picture to Burn has cut straight to Evil Willow. Do not pass go. Do not collect 200 tears and put them on your guitar. That's another one here about loneliness. And it's just vengeance. It's vengeance. It's inciting. It's totally deserved. And I got to admit, there is a certain shiver down the spine of it because I'm not going to be able to relate with the singer. And I think there's a lot of blokes who immediately would hear that song and go, it was a different time. Totally worth a listen to though. Picture the Bird. And no, other one she did. No, there's a few in here, although Places in the World, just to close, Place in the World is a bit Ally McBeal. It's got that wondering where we're going. But again, When I look at where I was in 2006, actually, I looked at pictures of myself in 2006. Um, Back when this album was released and she was being very successful and I got one-star reviews, and all I really want to do is shake 2006 Rob Deb and go, you're a real handsome devil. Don't worry about the fact that everyone's told you you're ugly. That's because they're intimidated and you will make a fool of death with your beauty. Now go out there and get them, because otherwise you're going to be 48 and doing videos like this and just feeling. Anyway, I would say as a whole, you can hear influences in here. It's not derivatives. These are influences. Plus, the fact is, everyone's been a teenager. Everyone's felt awkward. Everyone's felt empowered. Everyone's feels enabled. Everyone feels exploited, and not necessarily with the ability to articulate how that's happened, but you know that it has happened. There's shades of little earthquakes in here. Alanis Morissette, Four Non Blondes, Black Crows. Yes, yes, definitely. And there's even an undertow with the more vindictive songs. Well, I say vindictive, vengeful, and rightly so, of populist grunge. So I'd say when you actually look at the storytelling that's going on here, I'm not saying that the words necessarily have to have meaning, but there is definitely a narrative that's being played here. And it's unapologetic in its vulnerability, which I think is something that has to be applauded in this sort of like, music world of everyone so knowing, so meta, that someone turns up and goes, you know what, I'm feeling a bit shit about stuff, and I'm just going to tell you why. Something we seem to criticize more in people like Taylor Swift, when that's pretty much the most of Bon Jovi's albums in the last 20 years. So, in conclusion, I would say it's not great in terms of its range. And I would say it is as articulate as a young person can be, but it is earnest, it is heartfelt. And I also know that my mum would have liked listening to a couple of these songs. This is that Clara FM thing, and as a first album, as a debut album, it's totally worth some of your time. I've listened over to it about 3 times since it came out, and as this is part of my new job now, I would also say that if you're interested in seeing the Taylor Swift album part of the Taylor Swift exhibition at Victoria and Albert Museum, it's stop 7, room 40. It's the Boots. And you love, but you do you love Boots? I know I love Boots. Everyone's seen my Doc Martens videos. So do check that out if you can. That would be my summary of this album. Give it a listen. Just give it a listen. Um, Key tracks, as I mentioned, Place in the World, Picture to Burn, and the opener, Tim McGrath. It's if you want to have like a whole season of the WB in about 10.5 minutes, then you just put those on, shuffle that, and you've got everything in. Like, they could easily slip into music from the Bronze or whatever it was, but there is no supernatural in this champagne room. So I'm Rob Deb, and I'll see you in the next album.